Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Hasham Ali Khan. So now in this video I'm going to explain you about law of diminishing marginal utility. The question will be frequently asked in examination about the explanation of the law of diminishing marginal utility and about the exceptions. First of all, assumptions of the law of diminishing marginal utility, then exceptions to this law, and what are the importance and what are the limitations of this law. So I'm going to explain you in detail, and I'm confident that after listening and watching this video, definitely you will get a lot of command, a lot of confidence on this topic of law of diminishing marginal utility. Already in the last 2-3 videos I've completed the meaning of the term business economics, its characteristics, nature, role, importance, scope. All these things I've explained in the first video. Second, third video I've explained you about the micro and macro economics, the differences. All these things I have explained. So if you want the complete knowledge on this subject of business economics, watch every video till the end. Definitely you will find in yourself a lot of confidence in attempting the question in examination. So before start explanation on this law of diminishing marginal utility, take a screenshot of the notes which I have written on the board so that you can keep a permanent record, and before examination if you have a glance, then definitely you will write excellently in examination. Come on, now we'll start the law of diminishing marginal utility. Before that, first you must know the meaning of the term utility and what do you mean by marginal utility. Then only we'll go to the law. Utility means the satisfaction, the power of satisfaction by consuming a commodity. Every human being has some wants, and when we fulfill our wants, we get satisfaction. For example, if person is thirsty, he wants water. When he consumes water, he will get satisfaction. A person is hungry, he needs food. When he have the food, his want will be satisfied. He'll get the satisfaction. The satisfaction from consuming the goods or services is called utility. So our needs will get satisfied by consuming the commodities. That is called utility. And marginal utility means the additional satisfaction which we get by consuming another extra unit of commodity. By consuming one more unit of commodity, how much extra benefit, extra satisfaction which we get is called marginal utility or additional utility by consuming one more extra unit. So specifically I'm going to explain you marginal utility is the additional utility derived from an additional unit of any commodity consumed or acquired. When we consume a commodity, it will give more satisfaction. Second time, consecutively, subsequently, if we consume another commodity, the satisfaction will get slightly lesser. When we consume the third commodity, the additional satisfaction will get slightly lesser. Example, a person is fasting. So when he breaks his fast, when the first time he drinks a glass of water, he will get maximum satisfaction because throughout the day he has not taken the water. Now when he breaks his fast in the evening, then definitely first glass will give him maximum satisfaction. Second glass when he consumes, he will get slightly lesser satisfaction. When he consumes third glass of water, he will get again slightly lesser satisfaction. So additional satisfaction which he gets slightly declines if he consumes one after the other. So this law says marginal utility is the additional utility which is derived by consuming one more extra extra unit of commodity or acquired one more extra unit. So utility is the want satisfying power of a good. Want satisfying power of a good, that is called utility. Example, a person is, just now I have given example, a person is hungry. So when he is provided the food, as soon as he consumes the food, he will get more satisfaction. Subsequently, another food if he takes, then definitely his satisfaction will decline. So here, law of diminishing. Now first I have explained you the utility. Want satisfying power of a commodity is called a utility. Marginal utility is the additional utility which a person gets by consuming one extra units of the commodity. Additional unit of commodity. That is marginal. Now what is the law says? The law has been given by Alfred Marshall. In his words, what is this law of diminishing? According to Alfred Marshall, the law of diminishing marginal utility is defined as the additional benefit which a person derives from a given increase of his stock or thing and diminishes with every increase in the stock that he already has. That means the additional satisfaction which he gets by consuming an additional unit of good, that additional satisfaction will get diminished. For example, a person wants to have an apple. First, when he takes the first apple, it gives him more satisfaction. Subsequently, when he consumes the second apple, it will not give the same satisfaction what he got in the first apple. When he consumes the third apple, he will not get as much satisfaction as he got in second apple. Like this, subsequently consumption of every successive apple will goes on diminishing. That is said by Alfred Marshall. This is the definition given by Alfred Marshall. The law states, now we can expand the definition and given the meaning of the term law of diminishing marginal. The meaning says, the law states that the marginal utility derived on the consumption of every additional unit goes on diminishing with other things remaining constant. That means satisfaction depends on the consumption of that good or commodity. Assuming that other things are remaining constant, that means the taste and habits of the person, there should not be any time gap between the consumption of one unit and another unit. All these things are remaining constant. Subsequently, when a person consumes, the marginal utility will get diminishes. That is the law. Now I am going to explain you about the assumptions of this law. Alfred Marshall has given the law that the additional satisfaction which he gets goes on diminishes. But this law depends on some assumptions. What are the assumptions? The first, the law is based on the cardinal measurement of utility. Utility means satisfaction. Can we measure the satisfaction? There are two laws, two theories are there regarding the utility. One school of thought says utility is cardinal. Another school of thought says utility is ordinal. That means cardinal means we can measure the utility in terms of numerical value. We can give the satisfaction by assigning a numerical value. Whereas ordinal school of thought says utility cannot be measured. We can feel. Satisfaction cannot be measured, only we can feel it. This is said by ordinal. But cardinal utility says the utility is measurable. We can give by numbers the satisfaction. So here law of diminishing marginality utility is based on cardinal approach of utility. And cardinal says we can measure utility by giving a number. Secondly, the additionally consumed units should be homogeneous. That means the units which we are consuming should be same. It should not be different. For example, a person is consuming first time an apple. second time he is consuming a banana, third time he is consuming a mango, then definitely his satisfaction will increase, because the commodities are not homogeneous. So this law of diminishing marginal utility will apply only if the goods are homogeneous, same, no difference. There is no possibility to divide the commodity into smaller units. That means the units on which we are checking this law of diminishing marginal utility, the units should not be too small. If the units are too small, then equal. For example, a person who is thirsty, he is drinking the water in spoons. Spoon is very small. Normally we drink the water in a glass. But person, he is using spoon. First spoon he drinks, he will get maximum satisfaction. Second time again he drinks water in spoon. Third time again drinking water in spoon. That means the law of diminishing marginal utility will fail. He will get the same satisfaction because the unit consumed is very, very small. That should not be done. Fourth, all the units should be consumed in their successive timings. Means there should not be any time gap between one consumption and the next consumption. There should not be any time gap. Then only the law will be successful, will be correct. Otherwise, the law will fail. For example, we are checking the law on drinking glass of water. First glass of water he drank. Then after 15 minutes he is drinking second glass. There is a time gap between first consumption and second consumption. Law fails. Law says he will get the same satisfaction in the first glass as well as in the second glass. That will not diminish because there is a time gap. So the law will be passed only if there is no time gap between the consumption of first unit and the second unit. Marginal utility of money remains constant. Another assumption of this law of diminishing marginal utility is the marginal utility of money will remain constant. That means the money satisfying power is same. The money satisfying power is same. The satisfaction from money will not diminish. Next one, utility commodities are independent. Utilities of commodities are independent. That means the consumption should not depend on the consumption of any other commodity. The commodities are completely independent. For example, the satisfaction which we get from consumption of banana should be different from the satisfaction we get from the consumption of apple. The apple satisfaction or banana satisfaction will be different. Both are completely independent. Next one is the consumer is assumed to be a rational person. The law is based on a rational person. Rational means a normal person. The law will prove only on a normal person. If the person is completely abnormal, the law may fail. Next one is throughout the consumption period, the consumer's wants, taste, preference remains constant. Another assumption of this law is the taste, the preferences, the satisfaction of the consumer should not change when we apply this law. When we apply this law, for example, the person on which this law is being proved, first he is drinking a glass of water. Then he is drinking a glass of juice. That means his preferences have changed. Tastes have changed. Then the satisfaction which he gets from water, from juice will be different because his tastes, preferences have changed. That should not change. The taste preferences should not change when we apply this law of diminishing marginal utility. So this law is based on these assumptions. If the assumptions fails, then law will also fail. Next, explanation of the law. So far I have explained the law, but now by taking an example, we can be able to explain the complete law of diminishing marginal utility. So what is the explanation? The law mainly explains the relationship between the quantity of goods consumed and the utility or satisfaction obtained by its consumption. So this law will make the relationship between the commodities consumed and the satisfaction. On one hand, we have commodities. On the second hand, we are having satisfaction. So we want to find out the relationship between commodities consumed and satisfaction. It states that if a consumer goes on consuming additional units of a commodity after some consecutive consumption, the utility of that commodity declines. One after the other, if the person consumes that same commodity, then additional utility will goes on diminishing. Now we'll come to the explanation by using a table. Let us consider an example of adding more apples to the purchasing chart and observing the related change would be total utility and marginal utility. Now we'll take an example. The commodity are apples. By consuming an apple, a person will get the total utility and marginal utility. How the total utility will increase and how the marginal utility will diminish, that can be explained by taking a table, by taking an example. First column I have taken quantity of apple, 0 apple, no apples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 8 apples a person is consuming. It's an illustrative table to explain the law of diminishing marginal utility. The second column I have taken total utility TU. Third column marginal utility MU. Right? Now, first 0 apple. He doesn't consume any apple. When it doesn't consume any apple, no total utility, no marginal utility, 0, 0. He consumed the first apple. When he consumes the first apple, he will get total utility 2. When he consumes second apple, total utility 5. Total means by consuming first as well as second. Similarly, by consuming third apple, the total utility is 8. That means utility from first apple plus utility of second apple plus utility of third apple. The total utility by consuming 3 apples is 8. By consuming 4 apples, 10. Consuming 5 apples, 13. 6 apples, 13. 7 apple, 10. 8 apple, 8. Now what do you observe from this total utility? As the number of commodities increases, the total utility will also increase. Now you can see here 0, 0, 1, 2, 2, 5, 3, 8, 4, 10, 5, 13, maximum 13, 6th also 13. That means up to 6th apple, the total utility is increasing. Every time it is increasing up to 6th apple. On 7th apple it comes to 10. From 13 it dropped to 10. 8th apple further dropped to 8. That means the total utility is increasing, reach the maximum 13 utility and then falls down to 8, 10 and 8. Right? Now marginal utility, additional utility. First 0 utility, 0 apple, no utility. For 1 apple, 2 is the total utility and 2 is the marginal utility. Now 2 apples. When he consumed 2 apples, the total utility is 5. So how much is the additional utility? From 2 to 5. It increased from 2 to 5. See, this 2 to 5. So how much is increased? 3 units are increased. This is called marginal utility. Additional utility by consuming 1 extra unit. So here from 5 to 8, again 3 units is the increase. From 5 units, 5 utility to 8 utility, 3 units. From 8 to 10, 2 units. 10 to 13, it is 3 units. From 13 to 13, 0. 13 to 10, minus 3. Then 10 to 8, minus 2. 10 minus 8, minus 2. 8 minus 10 is minus 2. 10 minus 13 is minus 3. 13 minus 13, 0. 13 minus 10, 3. 10 minus 8, 2. 8 minus 5, 3. 5 minus 2, 3. 2 minus 0 is 2. This is the additional utility or marginal utility. Now observe the marginal utility 0, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 0, minus 3, minus 2. So satisfaction is increasing, but at a particular point of time it reaches the maximum, then it starts decline. So 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, then it becomes 0. So marginal utility is 0. When it is 0? When the quantity of apple is 6. When the quantity of apple consumed is 6, the marginal utility is 0. When the marginal utility is 0, when the total utility is maximum. The total utility is maximum 13 and marginal utility is 0. Now after that, total utility declines and marginal utility will become negative. The dissatisfaction. Now the person who is consuming apple will not get satisfaction. He will be dissatisfied in consuming. So here, in the above table, total utility increases up to 6th apple. Up to 6th apple it is increasing. And then goes on diminishing with every additional apple. See here, from 13 to 10, 10 to 8, it is diminishing. At the 6th apple, marginal utility becomes 0 and then becomes negative. At the 6th apple, you can see marginal utility has become 0 and after 0 it is becoming negative. That means he got complete satisfaction at the 6th apple. After 6th apple, if he consumes, then he will get dissatisfaction. He will get dissatisfaction. Now, 0 marginal utility indicates maximum satisfaction and the additional commodity makes marginal utility negative, indicating dissatisfaction. When marginal utility becomes negative, it means that the person is dissatisfied now. He don't want that commodity. He is fed up with the commodity. Now, exceptions. This is the explanation of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Now, what are the exceptions? Actually, this marginal utility is not applicable to everybody. There are some cases where diminishing marginal utility will fail. So, what are the cases, exceptions? First, collection of money and wealth. Just now we have discussed that money and wealth. As the people will get more and more money, his greed will also increase. He will never become dissatisfied with money. Normally a person wants more money, more wealth. As the money increases, his greed to have more money will also increase. So, this law of diminishing marginal utility will not apply to money and wealth. Secondly, rare and curious collections. There are some people who are having a hobby of collecting rare coins, rare stamps. So it is their hobby. So as they collect more and more stamps, more and more coins, ancient coins, his desire will also increase. His satisfaction will also get increased. It will not diminish. For those persons who are having a hobby of collecting some ancient coins or ancient stamps. Drunkards. Normally it is seen when a person is a drinker, he drinks more and more. As a person drinks more and more, what will happen? His greed to have more drinks will also increase. He will not be satisfied. He wants more and more pegs of wine, like that. Next, good books and poems. It is also a hobby. Some people will have a hobby of collecting different kinds of books, different kinds of poems. So as the person collects more and more books or poems, his want satisfying power will also increase. Very small unit. If the commodity which is consumed is of very small unit, then as he consumes more and more, his satisfaction will not decrease. Just now I have given an example that a person is thirsty. He is drinking water with spoon, then definitely the law of marginal utility will not apply. He will get the same satisfaction by drinking first spoon, second spoon, third spoon, like that. So these are the exceptions where the law of diminishing marginal utility will fail. Next comes criticisms. There are many criticisms against this law. The first criticism, unrealistic conditions. The assumptions of this law are not practical. These are only theoretical. The assumption is the utility can be measured, but in reality our satisfaction cannot be measured. Our satisfaction we can feel, we can realize, but we cannot express. Just like a person has, after breaking his fast, he drinks the water. Can we measure how much satisfaction he get? No. But here law says it's cardinal. Means we can measure the satisfaction. That is unrealistic. That is the criticism. Secondly, constant marginal utility of money. It is said that money will have the same satisfying power, but normally it is seen that a person will be fed up by having more and more money because he will get satisfied. He is not satisfied with money. He doesn't crave for more money. Next is not applicable in case of indivisible goods. If goods are indivisible, then also this law will not apply. Lastly, importance. The law holds greater significance in economics. This law of diminishing marginal utility is very important because a number of other laws are dependent on law of diminishing marginal utility. It acts as the basis for many laws of consumption. Law of demand, law of supply are all based on this law of diminishing marginal. The law explains the negative sloping of the demand curve and form a foundation for law of demand. The law of demand is based on this law of diminishing marginal utility. Then the law facilitated the finance minister in designing an appropriate taxation policy by framing a base for progressive taxation technique. Normally in India also we have progressive tax. As the income increases, the rate of tax will also increase. So the finance minister will take the help of law of diminishing marginal utility in framing a tax policy. That's all. So this is the end of this topic called law of diminishing marginal utility. Inshallah, in the next video I'll start the next topic, law of equimarginal utility.